You know what I'm sick of happening? All my favorite bands, their singers are being canceled because all of my favorite bands apparently have singers that do weird shit to women. So there's one left hanging on, Manchester Orchestra, Andy Hull. If you do this, please, please don't. Please don't. I have one band left that I can be like, I'm a huge fan of this band.
It explains a lot, man. You know, I don't have that problem with my bands.
I bet you do, but it was back in the 80s, and so women didn't really have a voice back then. Huh?
Some of my bands are still out there kicking.
Yeah, and all the groupies that
and it wasn't really
touched
the 80s.
Along the way.
The 80s was like just that throwaway teenage music that, yeah, it meant something then, but most of it doesn't mean anything now.
Sure.
So the 90s was more my time.
Oh, yeah. You more Nirvana?
I like Nirvana, but they're not one of my favorites.
I don't like Nirvana, so that's good.
I mean, some of their songs. Lithium is a great song.
Sure.
That's my favorite of theirs.
I think that was the inspiration behind the Energizer battery, right?
Could be.
Yeah.
It's all Kurt Cobain.
It's all Kurt Cocaine.
It was heroin.
Classic. Anyway, this next story, entitled Don't Encourage Her, comes from Brawa 1325. BRAOA. Brawa.
Don't know.
Braw 1325, I think. Who cares? It's fine. It's fine. It goes...
his or her parents care.
How dare you? When I was 18, living on my own for the first time, I kept waking up and seeing a woman with matted black hair sitting on my bed and smiling at me. Not what you want to see. The alarm bells are ringing. A creepy smile, not a nice one. If you were wondering if the woman with the matted black hair had a nice smile, it was not.
She might have.
She was like, no, creepy as hell. She scared the shit out of me. One night I woke up and she was there and slowly held up her hands, and they were f***ing grotesque. It looked like third-degree burns covering them. I was talking to my mom and mentioned it, and she just said, weird. She hasn't been around since you were a kid. Don't encourage her. She shows up every now and again, sometimes in nightmares. Sometimes when I wake up at night, she's at the foot of my bed, being creepy. I've had roommates who have seen her too, without me mentioning it to them ever before. I just ignore her. That's not what you want to see. That's not, especially in like a house. Like, this is my place of zen. Please don't come in here with your creepy matted black hair and your third-degree burn hands and show them to me at 3 a.m. in the morning. I'm not for that. I'm not about that life.
Don't encourage her.
I know. That's what I picture her just like doing laundry or something. Like, oh, that's weird. She hasn't been around since you were a kid. Yeah, don't encourage her and just walking off. You know what I mean?
You know what would help, probably? Obviously, the spirit is traumatized in some way. Show him the light.
Yeah.
The light's right over there. Go into it. Take your burned stuff out. Yeah. You'll feel better. And you'll look better, too.
Yeah, I don't think there's third-degree burns on the other side, man. Give it a shot.
Yeah.
Give it a shot. Give it a whirl. What do you got to lose?
You might have real hands there.
And you might have clean, straight hair again.
Maybe, you know, some people just don't like clean, straight hair.
You're right. You're right. It's horrible of me to assume.
Yeah.
But I agree. Yeah. I agree. Just show this weird, creepy lady to the other side.
Why do you think she's like sticking by this kid or this guy or girl?
Maybe if I were to just wager like Hail Mary guess, and this is a spirit we're talking about, the house burned down at some point and was rebuilt.
Yeah.
And that this ghost, why it's creepy at that point, I don't know. Maybe she burnt the house down and killed all her kids inside of it. And she was like smiling at them the whole time, like, yeah.
Maybe she was accused of being a witch and was burned.
Better, maybe she was a witch and she deserved it.
No. Okay. Back then they were accused. They weren't witches.
Oh, Christian, you and your weird theories. There were real witches back then too, man. It's not just all accusations.
Do you think they were weak enough to get caught and burned? No. Those were the innocents.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Maybe the ones they picked off weren't real, but I'm sure they got a few real ones somewhere in the, if Probably you're killing hundreds of fake witches, you got to get accidentally stumble upon a real one. And she's like, oh, shit, how did they find me? I thought I've been covering my tracks so good.
Yeah.
And they're like, we saw what you did, lady. You wore pants. Get out here.
You know what probably started happening early on when they were killing witches is those witches were just like, here's an ointment for your sickness. And then they got rid of some of the early witches. And then the Black Plague came along.
Yeah. Like, what is this, lavender oil?
Yeah.
Get on this steak.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure stranger things have happened.
It has happened. Season what?
Season
now?
4, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a great season, and you need to check it out, dude.
I'm moving through it slowly.
All right. Let's just keep this creepy train rolling. This one is from Gemurray X. G.E. Murray X. And I called it Hand Me a Sign. Hand Me a Sign.
Sounds like a song.
Yeah.
From the 60s.
Hand me a sign. Driving down a street, middle of the day. I checked my rear view for traffic behind me and saw a hand reach up in the back seat. Almost jumped the curve when I swerved out of shock, looked around to an empty seat. I pulled into a parking lot to confirm that I couldn't have seen anything. Not only was the back seat empty of people and other things, not only was the back seat empty of people, but no loose items either. No events in my life around this, no deaths of family or friends, and nothing that I could find out about the spot on the city street that was insignificant, or that was significant.
There was something a little loose.
That's weird.
His mind.
Oh, you think so? Is that what you think? No, it's fine. You know what's weird is I think I've developed a fear of looking in a like rear view mirror and seeing something back there. Like, you know, I think I personally have read so many stories of people like accidentally or glancing in the rear view and seeing like someone sitting there or something happening back there. Or you're being chased by a UFO or Mothman.
Yeah.
All kinds of weird shit happens in the rear view that now it's almost like a 50-50. Like, what's going to happen when I look in the rear view? Especially when you're driving at night, you're like,
that's how they get you. That's like the beginning of like controlling us, is making us fear everything, including what's in the back seat of the car if there's nothing there.
Yeah.
You live in fear, they control you, man.
Have you ever seen anything in the rear view?
Not that I can think of.
Yeah. I don't think I have either. Every time I come across a story like this, there's probably like a solid week where I'm like,
Yeah.
Like just to double check and make sure no one's not hitching a free ride to Walgreens in your boy's car. All right.
Yeah.
You're a ghost. Why don't you just show up? Why don't you waltz on through the 6th dimension and get there yourself?
I don't understand why ghosts can't just not show themselves to us.
I think they can. But like there's a lot of people that draw on like it's an energy thing, right? Like they need enough energy to be able to manifest or whatever. Like anyone that claims to know any of this shit is, you know, bonkers themselves, right? Like I don't have the answers. You don't have the answers.
I do have the answers. It's them that the ones above us,
them
that control everything.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I guess that checks out. Sure. I can't refute that.
It's not real, man. It's just the programming.
Birds aren't real. Yeah. And see, that's going to go ahead. That's a throw forward to season 3. Watch us not even do birds aren't real. Like, they're like, what was that a throw forward to, guys?
I'm not sure there's enough good stuff to make a full episode, but we'll come up with something.